What's up guys, it's Masked Up Swede. Right now I'm checking out a UK drill plug video. This one is East London's deadly gang war, Northside Newham versus Southside Newham. So in my head, this beef is kinda like Young Dis versus CB. That's like the how people used to call it, I would say. But yeah, this is a long ass video, man. Let me know in the comments if you like the longer videos or if you want me to keep it to the short ones. And also let me know if you want me to check out some of the other UK drill plug videos that I've missed. Yeah, let's get into this, man. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. Let's go.
Corey Jr. Davis shot dead in a playground in broad daylight.
Tomorrow marks 5 years since the murder of Ahmed Dean Jar.
Within seconds, he was shot in the chest as he walked towards the car. The driver of the vehicle
stabbing.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this beef, I imagine.
Teenage boy, age 15. Someone got shot in. I just sip my tea like Kermit.
This rap is fucking slaggy, beat like a bitch from Geordie Shore. He got bored and fell on the floor. Fuck it, I might as well ching him more.
Now,
that's crazy from Yanko, man.
Now, the London Borough of Newham is one of the larger areas that make up East London. Newham was created in 1965 under the London Government Act, 1963. Since the borough's creation, Newham has become one of the more populated boroughs among the 32 others that make up the larger London. As of 2018, the population within Newham was recorded at around 350,000 people, although since then,
it's crazy though that a borough in London has more people than I think this is almost like the second biggest city in Sweden, I think.
and the population has most likely increased, with it being estimated that as of 2024, the population is 370,000 residents currently living in and around the London Borough of Newham. What a lot of these residents do not know about, however, is the ongoing gang war that has been playing out in the streets for decades, resulting in over 20 murders, multiple shootings, and dozens of
over 20 murders.
stabbings. This subsequently resulting in the crime rate rising each year in Newham, with the current crime rate as of 2024 being 137 crimes per 1,000 people. This being an increase in comparison to London's crime rate as a whole, this deadly gang war being the feud between a group of gangs based in Southside Newham and a group of gangs based in the Northside.
Okay, so here's all of them. I like when they show it like this so I can really figure out. So Beckton's obviously the biggest one with like Young Dis and the twins and all of these guys. And they're 7th. Manor Park. I don't know if they're involved or nothing in this beef, but I know about Manor Park as well. Okay.
Of Newham. And whilst these groups of gangs can get a little bit confusing, I'll do my best at describing them within this video, as well as the long-standing gang war that each crew has been involved in, with this war being one of, if not, the craziest gang rivalries I have told on this channel, with the bloody feud claiming the lives of over 20 people. Before I start this video, however, YouTube says only 5% of you are subscribed, so if you enjoy this
Yeah, man, same here. Go subscribe, man.
content, feel free to subscribe as it helps out the channel. But without further ado, sit back and enjoy this video.
I'm callous, caught man with his trousers low and I made him ski on my fucking.
Now, the first
Okay, 7th BCM and CGE. Okay.
alliance of gangs I'll be discussing is that of the Northside Newham affiliated gangs, the crews that are allied under the Northside Newham.
Oh, so CGE was right there. I didn't see that one. That's Forest Gate. Woody Woodrange, 7th BVC.
Includes 7th from the E7 postcode, BCM, or 15th from the E15 postcode, CGE from Chad Green, E13, and other sets that are scattered across Northside Newham. It's believed that OM from Manor Park was once affiliated with both Southside and Northside Newham. However, following a deadly act of mistaken identity, OM began to affiliate with Northside Newham. The most prominent of these gangs, however, was that of 7th. 7th used to be known as E7 Crips, and identified with the color blue, which we have seen them continue to do so. 7th is actually split into two sets that have since come into conflict with each
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Imagine beefing like when you're literally next to each other, man. That just looks crazy.
each other. These sets being BWC from Blackwater Close and Woodgrange from Woodgrange Road. These sets both being in the E7 postcode. As of recently, Woodgrange has come into conflict with BWC over a murder. For simplicity's sake, however, I won't explain the 7th in-house rivalry. Prominent members from Northside Newham include Yanko from BWC, Jay Huss from BCM, CB from
Jay Huss is north as well, okay.
Woodgrange, and S13 from CGE. All of these rappers having a deadly rivalry with gangs from Southside Newham.
Get kicked from the block if you're useless. If South's controlling a ped, I'ma grab this whap like bro, let's do.
Okay, Southside 6. GGE. TTB Custom House, okay.
SSN, or Southside Newham, is an alliance of gangs based around the south side of Newham. The gangs include 6th, or ACG from Beckton, E6, CH, or Custom House, E16, and Canning Town, also from...
I don't know about... I mean, I've heard CT, but I feel like I've heard CT from like south. Sure, there's a CT there as well.
The E16 postcode. Other gangs are also relevant to Southside Newham, examples being GGE and a new gang known as PR Lane, which is based around Prince Regent Lane, Plaistow, E13. Prominent rappers from Southside Newham include Kojo Funds from
Kojo, yeah.
Custom House, Young Diz from 6th, and AB, also from
AB.
6th. Now,
and Twin S as well.
A lot of people get confused between ACG and 6th, so to explain it, 6th and ACG are basically the same thing, whilst YACG are the younger gang members from Beckton. Now that I have explained the gangs on each side of the rivalry, I can now take a deep dive into what led to teens from completely different areas within Newham beginning to have a deadly and bloody feud with one another, thus resulted in dozens of shootings, stabbings, and murders occurring within the streets of Newham.
He was shot dead in Woolwich last April.
This got shot and stabbed, didn't touch no rule members.
This Yanko, brother. Mother's life, bro.
They couldn't even rip my coat. It was a joke when they was trying to stab me. Surf milky bars and rolos.
Now, it's believed that originally the gangs on both sides of Newham wouldn't have as deadly of a rivalry as they do today. However, following a brutal murder carried out by a Custom House member onto a CGE member, gang members on both sides of Newham would be forced into picking a side, thus splitting Newham in half, resulting in the North Side and South Side war that we continue to see today. On the 24th of January 2009, 17-year-old Stephen Lewis, who was known under the name Captain and was thought to have been an associate of the CGE gang from Chad Green, E13, would be attending a charity event that was being held in Plaistow. Shortly after the event had concluded, both Captain and his brother made their way outside, when they were noticed by a group of gang members armed with knives. From Custom House, E16, the members stabbed 15-year-old Captain twice, with one of these wounds being to his heart. It's believed that a large group of teens then fled the scene. It's rumored that Captain's sister was with him in his last moments, before emergency services
RIP, man.
arrived on the scene, rushing.
I know there's gonna be a lot of RIPs in this video, but just out of respect, I'm still gonna say it every time, man.
Him to hospital, where he sadly died a few hours later. A murder investigation was launched following the murder. However, it was pampered by a wall of silence, as it's believed that everyone present wasn't prepared to give any information to the police. In the end, however, 17-year-old Major from Custom House was arrested and charged for the murder of 17-year-old Stephen Lewis, or Captain. Major was given 17 years for the murder, and was recently pictured on Snapchat in the years following his arrest. The murder of 17-year-old Captain was the turning point in Newham's gang war, with it being rumored that this murder led to the split in Newham, with Northside gangs siding together, while Southside gangs sided together, as remember Captain was allegedly CGE, which is a gang in Northside Newham, whilst his killer was from Custom House, this being a Southside Newham gang. Now, following this murder, in 2010, younger members began to get
Guessing there's gonna be a couple ads in this video since it's as long as it is, man.
active within the streets of Newham, with the youngers from BCM and CGE in Northside Newham planning a get-back for their friend Captain. And on the 4th of July 2010, both BCM and CGE would retaliate, thus resulting in the tit-for-tat murders that took place in the years after. On the 4th of July 2010, 16-year-old Elton Campos de Oliveira, or Ace, who repped Custom House, would be cycling home from a party. Upon reaching Denby Road in East London, he was noticed by a gang of up to 15 rival BCM and CGE members. Ace was then dragged off his bicycle and was beaten with baseball bats, punched, kicked, and stabbed 10 times whilst on the floor, with this attack lasting minutes before the attackers then fled the scene. Ace was rushed.
That's Crazy,
to
man.
hospital and remained in critical condition with a punctured lung. But sadly, however, 16-year-old Elton Campos de Oliveira died 2 days later on the 6th of
R.I.P. man.
July 2010, with yet another murder investigation being launched. It's believed that the murder was a retaliation for the killing of Captain a year prior, with Captain's friends getting convicted for the murder of Ace. And whilst it looked as if police had all of the suspects, they were missing one, this allegedly being a 16-year-old CGE member known as Sammy Guns. Sammy Guns had found himself in a rivalry with a Peckham-based gang. It's rumored that the Peckham gang members would actually find 16-year-old Sammy Guns, shooting him dead in October 2010, just mere weeks before police closed in on the
R.I.P. again, man.
suspects involved in the murder of Ace. Rest in peace, both Ace and Sammy Guns. The violence wouldn't end here, however, and just over a year following the death of Sammy Guns in December 2011, 18-year-old Danny O'Shea, who was thought to have gone by the name Black Dan, would be stabbed to death by a group of 10 who were armed with baseball bats and knives. Sadly, Danny was pronounced dead only hours later, with the 10-man mob going on to be arrested in the days
R.I.P. man. Already, man.
after the murder. Now, it's rumored that Danny O'Shea was an affiliate of the Custom House Gang, even being pictured throwing up C's, although his family and friends since came out and stated he was innocent. Either way, however, rest in peace, Danny O'Shea or Black Dan. It was actually around this time that rappers on all sides of the rivalry began to make music, example being Chrome from the BCM crew, who was even an Arsenal trainee at one point, although he much preferred making rap songs, often shouting out his BCM batch. Unfortunately, however, in May 2013, Chrome would sadly be killed by rivals in a shocking and brutal attack that lasted minutes. On the 9th of May 2013, 17-year-old champion Ganda, or Chrome, would be walking through Forest Gate Newham, home to the 7th gang. He was accompanied by a friend. During this walk, the pair would be noticed by a gang of 3 boys. A fight then ensued between everyone involved, and sadly, 17-year-old champion Ganda was stabbed 11 times, his lung being pierced in the process, and even sustaining wounds to the bone, as the attacker had stabbed him with so much force, whilst his friend that accompanied him was stabbed twice. Sadly, Chrome died only moments later, whilst his friend recovered in hospital.
R.I.P. man. Already like 5 people. Like, how many people are gonna be mentioned in this video if we're already at like 5 when it's not even 10 minutes in?
Murder investigation was then launched, with a 17-year-old Amani Lynch being arrested and charged with manslaughter, and in the end, he was sentenced to 14 years in prison, whilst the 2 other defendants were acquitted. Rest in peace, Champion Ganda, or Chrome. Chrome's death was a massive devastation to his friends and loved ones, with his mum even going on to support other families that have gone through a similar experience. Chrome's life was also remembered by his friends, who released his songs onto platforms like Mixtape Madness. Rest in peace, Chrome. Following this murder, Jay Huss from the BCM Northside Newham gang began to release music. This included his track titled Rated in December 2014, before then
That's a banger, man.
releasing his Street Stars freestyle in January 2015. And on the Southside Newham side, Kojo Funds began to release music, often sending and replying to disses toward and from Jay Huss. A prime example of this would be a few months after Jay
I didn't even know that, man.
Huss was stabbed in 2015. He rapped on a song titled Delajor in December 2015, rapping, "Little Kojo scared, Kojo stressin',
Oh, damn.
Kojo ran
That's direct as well.
off, left his blessings, left his pride, left his brethren. Kojo's lying time for confessions. Kojo what? Kojo who?
Damn, he went in.
Kojo ooh. I make more funds than you. Kojo is even often mentioned nowadays, with the 7th rapper Yanko mentioning him in a disrespectful track titled The Truth, in which he rapped, Kojo thought he could chill on his block. Now Kojo's dropping his iPhone 6. Get slapped if you're screaming 6. Shit better have a bulletproof wig. Although these disses wouldn't really matter, as both Kojo Funds and Jay Huss would blow into the mainstream UK rap scene in the years following these disses, with Kojo Funds gaining success with his tracks like My 9, and Jay Huss dropping tracks like Did You See, which sits on an impressive 100 million views.
That's a 100 M's. But the stream's gotta be way more than that.
Views on YouTube and 200 million streams on Spotify.
At 200.
During this time, new rappers from both Northside and Southside Newham began to release music. On the north side of Newham, CB began to make music, releasing tracks like Still Drilling in February 2017. And on the south side, rappers like Young Diz released songs like Drill and Repent. However, it was exactly a month following the
I remember Drill and Repent. That was cold back then, man.
release of CB's debut song, Still Drilling, that a significant member of Custom House would be stabbed to death, spawning a new wave of disrespect in the underground UK drill scene. This then having a knock-on effect, resulting in countless deaths occurring in the months following this murder. On the 2nd of April 2017, at around 3:20 p.m., 24-year-old Grinna, who is thought to have been a Custom House member, would enter a shop on Freemasons Road within Custom House, Newham. He then left the shop a few minutes later, but upon leaving, he began to be followed by an unknown individual. This unknown individual then chased 24-year-old Grinna into the shop before launching an attack on him. Sadly, Grinna was stabbed in the heart during this attack, with the attacker being seen on CCTV fleeing shortly after. Sadly, Grinna died on the scene.
R.I.P. man.
Now, despite a murder investigation, no evidence has been turned up to place anyone as the attacker, thus leading to this case going unsolved. Although people do have theories on who killed Grinna, and if you are a UK drill fan, you will know exactly what I mean. However, until a full trial has taken place, I guess we won't know who killed Grinna. Either way, however, rest in peace, Grinna. Now, if you remember at the beginning of this video, I stated that OM were neutral in the Southside and Northside Newham war. Well, this was going to change only days after Grinna's murder, as an associate of the 6th Gang would be gunned down by OM members in a case of mistaken identity. On the 7th of April 2017, just 5 days following the murder of Grinna, 16-year-old Kareem Sams, or Lil Jumbo, who was associated with the 6th Gang. Anyways, Lil Jumbo and his friends would be standing near Pier Parade in North Woolwich when a group of Manor Park members noticed them from inside a car. The gang then parked in a car park, and 2 Manor Park members then exited, walking toward Lil Jumbo before opening fire, hitting both Lil Jumbo and his friends multiple times. Sadly, Lil Jumbo was pronounced dead only minutes later, with yet
R.I.P. man.
another murder investigation being launched. However, despite a massive investigation, Lil Jumbo's killers have never been identified and are
Other one.
most likely still out there. Rest in peace, Kareem Sams or Lil Jumbo. Around this time, CB from 7th would be seriously shining within the UK drill scene, releasing the track titled Take That Risk in 2017, with this song blowing up and currently sitting on over 18 million streams on Spotify, thus really shining a light on the rappers involved in the Northside and Southside Newham gang war. Rappers from Southside Newham were also getting active within the music scene, with Young Diz and D-Sav from the 6th Gang dropping a track titled Time Will Tell later in 2017. This song even featuring a direct response to CB's song titled Take That Risk, in which they rapped, "They talk about taking risks. That day when gang pulled up, that same risk taker was running and dropping his crisps."
Yeah, I think we all remember that part, man.
This just showing that the beef had escalated from just being in the streets and was now being displayed in front of the public in UK drill songs that then gained millions of views. Despite this,
Yeah, back then, man, I'm not gonna lie, it felt like everything was online. Like, every time someone got stabbed or someone got this or that, like, it was on Snapchat and, like, stuff like that straight away, man.
however, the war was about to escalate, with innocent people even falling victim to the ongoing gang feud. On the 25th of August 2017, 19-year-old Abdul Manja, who had no involvement with the Northside and Southside gang feud, would be sitting on a wall with a female friend who was feeling sick. While sitting on the wall, 2 Custom House Southside Newham gang members approached and asked, "What ends you from?" or "Where are you from?" Before Abdul could answer the question, however, the Custom House members retrieved a gun and shot him once in the chest before fleeing seconds
Stuff like this is so pointless, man. Just pointless.
later, sadly being pronounced dead on the scene.
R.I.P. man.
The attackers then drove a Nissan Qashqai away from the murder. This car was later found burnt out in Jade Close, Canning Town. A murder investigation saw the arrests of 4 men, although only 2 men went on to be sentenced for the murder. These included Ice Cream from Custom House and Cruz from Custom House, both being sentenced to life with a minimum of 30 and 31 years. Rest in peace, Abdul. AB from Southside Newham would actually reference this murder in his heartfelt track titled Street Cursed, in which he rapped, "Let me tell you a bit about Ice. He's currently serving life. Same friends that he went on a glide with. They turned into rats and mice. Still couldn't prove it was him or Cruz, so the judge gave both of them life."
Yeah, man, he's saying, are you sure you want this life? Because this is stuff that comes with it, man. I can't sit here and say they don't deserve it, though. If they just kill a random kid, man. That's crazy.
They're coming out when they're 55. Are you sure you want this life? This just being one of many deep lyrics that tell the real stories of the gang life in Newham, which I will always say is pointless, and you should stay far away from the roads. Southside Newham gang members wouldn't stop at killing Abdul, and just over a week later, they would notice a 14-year-old 7th member, shooting him dead in broad daylight. This murder even reaching national TV due to how shocking it was, resulting in the news beginning to report on the bloody gang war between Southside Newham and Northside Newham.
Corey Jr., CJ Davis.
Heard that name being referenced a lot of times as well, man.
Was shot dead as he stood by a playground on a September afternoon last year.
On the 4th of September 2017, only mere days after the fatal shooting that claimed Abdul Manja's life, 14-year-old Corey Jr. Davis, or CJ, who was an associate of the 7th Gang, would be standing with friends in a playground in the Forest Gate area of Newham, when a group of 6th members in a stolen car rode up alongside him, shooting him in the head, killing 14-year-old Corey Jr. Davis on the scene. A
R.I.P. man.
murder investigation has managed to turn up little to no evidence in order to convict anyone, with this murder going unsolved. It is believed, however, that CJ was placed in a pupil referral unit after being excluded from school. It's rumored that this pupil referral unit was where he began to get close with Northside Newham gang members,
That
with it
makes
being
sense.
known that these gang members would him into the gang. Either way, however, rest in peace, Corey Jr. Davis. Now, following CJ's death, young Diz from the 6th crew began to seriously disrespect him, rapping some of the wildest bars I think I've ever heard. S13 from CGE would actually hear these disses, and responded in his track titled Custom Juice, in which he rapped, "Niggas wanna diss on CJ. First things first, let me clear it up. That's my little bro, but I swear that he
I remember this.
weren't involved. So all this talk about you're smoking on ops, rude boy, you ain't smoking a soul." CJ is still dissed today by young ACG members both in songs and on social media. Rest in peace. Around this time, both Northside as well as Southside Newham would be making noise in the underground UK drill scene. Example being Young Diz, who released a track titled Kermit. Within this song, Young Diz stated that someone got shot in Gate or Forest Gate, and he just sips his tea similarly to how Kermit does. This likely being a diss toward 14-year-old CJ. He also stated that only days after being stabbed, 2 rivals from Northside Newham were shot in the head.
Crazy,
So he
man.
didn't care. In a podcast titled Who Killed CJ Davis, Young Diz as well as Twin S and H would be named as original suspects, even being arrested before they were later released, with Young Diz's track Kermit even being used within the podcast.
The names of 3 of the 4 men arrested earlier in this case. All of these men were released without charge due to a lack of evidence. The first is Isaac Donko. He's known as Young Diz. According to a cache of police documents first leaked to me 2 years ago, Scotland Yard requested the deletion of one of Young Diz's rap videos. The police believed that the video was relevant to the murder. The video was called Kermit. Should stress again that Donko was released without charge. It's believed he would have been recovering from his injuries. He was stabbed and shot 2 weeks before CJ was murdered.
So that's one man, Young Diz. Who are the other 2 that were arrested and released without charge?
The 2 other men arrested are twin brothers. When Young Diz was stabbed and shot, he was targeted outside the home of twin brothers. They're known on the street as Twin H and Twin S. They're aged 20.
Sadly, however, the violence wouldn't end there, and only weeks following the shooting of CJ, an alleged Custom House associate would be killed. At around 8:15 p.m. on the 8th of November 2017, Trizzy or Jordan Ajobo, who was allegedly associated with the Custom House gang and was close friends with Grinna, would be stabbed to death by a group who wielded machetes. He sustained multiple wounds to the chest and was sadly pronounced dead moments later. It was
R.I.P. man.
rumored that his death was the result of a £1,500 debt that was supposed to be paid to another
That sounds crazy though.
Custom House member. Trizzy had actually attempted to escape the streets, even going on to become a boxing coach. Rest in peace, Trizzy. Trizzy was also referenced in AB's track titled Streets Cursed, in which he rapped, he thought that his friends would ride, but they didn't even ride for their friend that died. How could you be so silly? Rest in peace.
R.I.P. man.
Grinna and Trizzy. He was also disrespected in S13 from CGE's track titled Gang Bus, in which he said, I don't know how the 16th feel. Them man there wanna talk about funds and your boy got packed over 15 bills.
Crazy.
Around this time, Young Diz would drop one of his most popular tracks, this being titled Drill and Repent. Within this track, he rapped that him and the kidnap squad will be at your door, this being quite foreshadowing, as Young Diz himself would eventually find himself wrapped up in a case that involved kidnap, although I'll speak about that later. CB also dropped a track titled Talk on My Name around this time. Within this song, he directly told his rivals from Southside Newham that him and 7th are the most dangerous gang in Newham, even stating that they had London shaking. Sadly, however, at the beginning of 2018, another person would fall victim to the bloody war in Newham, this being Promise. On the 14th of February 2018, Vando from the 7th gang as well as 4 other gang members would arm themselves with knives and would use a stolen car to ride out onto rival Southside Newham gang members. At around 8 p.m., the armed gang noticed an alleged 6th associate known as Promise, who was with his friends in Canning Town. The car then drove into Promise, knocking him to the ground. This being when the 7th gang members exited the vehicle and started to chase Promise, who by this point managed to scramble away. Promise was pursued by 4 of the 5 members and was stabbed multiple times, with the defendants fleeing minutes after the stabbing. Emergency services arrived on the scene shortly after the attack, but despite attempts at saving Promise's life, he was pronounced dead at 8:30 p.m.
R.I.P. man.
with a murder investigation being launched. Vando from the 7th Gang and other Northside Newham members would be arrested and were charged with the murder. Eventually, however, following a trial, all of the attackers were given life in prison. Rest in peace, Promise. Promise is a name that was consistently disrespected by 7th members. Example being Yanko, who said on a song titled Anyone Can Go, rapping, "Promise got drugged."
That song was cold though, even though it's disrespectful as hell. But it was a cold song.
Dropped on Valentine's Day. He should have been linking a girl with flowers, as well as on his unreleased track The Truth, where he said, "Prom got hit by the Beamer. Now we are in the Gaza smoking prom." As I'm sure you can tell, Yanko did not mind disrespecting his dead and alive rivals within songs, this possibly being why he gained such a massive viewing whenever he released tracks. In March 2018, however, only a few weeks following the murder of Promise, a 6th member known as Y Slewy would allegedly borrow money from another 6th gang member who was his friend. Weeks later, the 6th gang member that borrowed young Slewy the money would be asking for his money back. Young Slewy was unable to pay his friend back, so in a fit of rage, whilst being under the influence of drugs, the 6th gang member, who was young Slewy's friend, then stabbed young Slewy to death. It's then rumored that the 6th member wanted in connection to the murder, fled the country, and has nor been
That's crazy, man.
seen or heard from since. Rest in peace, young Slewy. Now, around this time, both CB as well as young Diz would become the faces of the Northside and Southside Newham war, with each song they released gaining hundreds of thousands of views as well as positive feedback. What fans weren't expecting, however, was the fact that both CB and young Diz would find themselves in legal trouble in 2018 for some of the craziest cases I think I have ever discussed on this channel. On the 26th of July 2018,
Both their cases are crazy, man.
2018, CB, along with other 7th gang members, would ride out onto rival territory armed with a shotgun in a stolen car. Whilst the ride out was in session, police noticed the car and began to chase it, with CB and the other 7th members going as fast as 60 miles per hour in residential areas. This being when CB decided to wave the shotgun out of his window in order to deter the police. The car carrying CB would eventually come to a halt in which he was arrested, along with an arsenal of weapons being recovered, these including an axe, a shotgun, and multiple knives. Following a trial, CB was found guilty of possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life, as well as conspiracy to cause grievous bodily harm with intent, being sentenced to life with a minimum of 23 years. It's even rumored that while CB was awaiting his sentence, he recorded and released his extremely popular Plugged In with Fumes freestyle. Within this song, he rapped that if he knows where his rival sleeps, he would kill his
Yeah, that bar is crazy as well, man.
mum, brother, sister, and niece, thus just showing how tapped CB is. Shortly after CB would catch this charge, one of his main rivals, young Diz, would also find himself on the other side of the law just a week later, in August 2018. This case seeing young Diz recruiting kids as young as 14 to commit deadly and vicious attacks within the streets, with this case even going on to be the subject of a Met Police crime documentary. On the 2nd of August 2018, young Diz as well as 4 other boys, all which he had allegedly to the 6th gang. Young Diz would convince one of these boys to contact another 16-year-old who was ordered to meet Diz and the boys in Barking. Upon arriving at the location decided, young Diz as well as the other 4 defendants arrived in a dark blue Ford Mondeo. The 16-year-old was then punched in the head and was threatened with a machete to get into the car driven by young Diz. 2 plastic bags were then put over his head. The 16-year-old was driven to the home of one of the 4 younger defendants in the car. Upon arriving at the home, the 16-year-old victim was forced to he was then beaten with a metal pipe and was even forced to swallow cannabis, with young Diz
This is insane, man.
recording this incident. It's believed his parents were then phoned, in which he was forced to beg for £1,500. A bag was placed on his head once again, with him being ordered not to speak to police, and he was taken to the car driven by Diz, later being released.
I think we've heard different stories about exactly why he was kidnapped and all of that stuff, though. Some people say it was over £1,500. Some say it was like, I think they said he like ran off with drugs or something, like. But either way, man, a 14-year-old, yeah, crazy. Still, a 14-year-old shouldn't be in that life either. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard when it comes to this stuff, man.
An investigation was then launched. One of the defendants had actually kept the victim's phone, leading to his arrest hours later, with young Diz then later being arrested. It's alleged that weeks after the ordeal, the victim was messaged on Snapchat and was offered £5,000 in order to drop the charges, as well as not show up to court. Although in the end, young Diz was found guilty and was sentenced to 12.5 years, meaning he is most likely out this year or next year.
Oh, damn. I haven't thought about that. I was gonna ask, but okay, this or next year. Crazy, man.
Following this case, young rappers from the 6th or ACG gang began to release music, example being both Stryker and Castro. 16-year-old Stryker releasing the track titled Critical in August 2018. Within this song, he said if you throw a K on the 6, you can get stabbed, as well as stating that Pablo, who was a 7th member, ran from him and got stabbed, this being a case he was caught up in, seemingly getting charged and found guilty for this stabbing, later being released in 2023, where he has since given his life to God, which is the only way to escape this
That's good, man.
gang life. Castro from 6th also released tracks, dropping the song Untold Stories in October 2018, where he said that if you claim you're from Northside Newham, you will die, as well as calling for the freeing of his friends, even mentioning Stryker, who was fighting his case. In 2019, however, Yanko from 7th began to release music, dropping the song Anyone Can Go in April 2019, the title being a sly diss towards 6th, as they also went by ACG. Within
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
this song, he said that if you want to find real gangsters, you can go to Northside Newham, and if you want to see Neeks, you have to go
Yeah, I remember this whole song, basically.
to Beckton, home to the 6th gang, as well as stating that when he was attacked by 6th members, they only ripped his coat and did not cause any harm to him. This incident being the subject of an Instagram live later on.
They know the thing, fam. Hey, to tell another thing that bugs me though.
Yeah.
My nigga, it's this Yanko, brother. Mother's life, bro.
Yeah, this time was crazy, man. Just sitting there talking on live and saying names like this, that would never happen right now, man.
This you gives me a headache, fam. Man caught this you, bro. Man caught this you not once, not twice, 3 times, my nigga. Not once, but 3 times, my nigga, like. 3 times, fam. Each time the youth has run. And it's not, you know them ones like, you catch someone and they'll look like, who's that? He knows where it is. He's cutting. As soon as he sees the whip, he's cutting, bro. One time though, man caught him. I ain't even gonna say who with. I ain't trying to, you feel me? But true say, man, no. He held that chef in. You already know what time it is. True say, my man, telling all these lies and these things, rare.
Finally, within this track,
Crazy.
Yanko questioned why Stryker from 6th
Please welcome an absolutely new crossout.
as he had supposedly scored no goals on the 7th gang, which was since disproven, as Stryker was in jail for stabbing a 7th gang member. Whilst it looked as if the music scene was going to be a way out for a lot of the young members involved in this war, sadly 2019 and 20 would be a turning point in the rivalry, with a lot of youngers beginning to rep the gangs, often carrying out deadly stabbings, shootings, and murders. On the 26th of August 2019, 2 teens who were just 14 and 16 and had just been released from prison only weeks earlier in connection to the Young Diz case would be traveling around the Chad Green area within Northside Newham, this being home to the CGE gang. Anyways, the pair were armed with machetes and noticed 18-year-old Santino Dimeter, who was known as Star 9, as well as another friend. Santino was chased by the pair and was slashed and stabbed multiple times, with it being heard that Santino was screaming help in his final moments, sadly being pronounced dead moments later.
R.I.P. again, man.
Following the attack, the 2 defendants fled in a getaway car, which was later found abandoned, with yet another murder investigation being launched. This case wasn't going to be difficult for the Met Police to solve, as both teens were wearing electronic tags during the ride-out, as well as finger...
That's nuts, man. Yeah, I've heard in a couple songs people saying like they do glides on tag and stuff, but yeah, that seems ridiculous, man. That's like wanting to go back to jail, man.
Fingerprint evidence being found within the abandoned car, thus leading to both arrests shortly after the killing. In the end, however, one of the teens was sentenced to life with a minimum of 18 years, whilst the younger defendant was given life with a minimum of 16 years. Rest in peace, Santino or Star 9. Now, following Santino's death, people would be quick to state that he was associated with the gang CGE, although since then, it's believed he wasn't in fact a CGE member, with CGE members even going on to state after the murder that Santino or Star 9 was not CGE.
We've seen this a few times, though. I don't know what to think when they like deny somebody in this way. But like sometimes I'm sure they're not a part of the gang, but sometimes I'm sure they're affiliated in some way. But I don't know, man.
as well as some stating that they told Star 9 to not claim postcodes. Either way, however, rest in peace. Around this time, Yanko would be seriously blowing in the streets, with his Anyone Can Go track sitting on around 3 million views. However, despite these views, Yanko was still knee-deep in the gang life, and during 2019, he would end up being arrested for a huge county lines operation, this seeing him behind bars for a few years. Now, in 2017, the West Midlands Police, as well as the West Mercia Police, would create a county lines operation titled Operation Ballot, this being created in order to tackle county lines in the West Midlands.
I feel like we're jumping a bit back and forth, like weren't we just at 2019? Now we're back to 17, and this and DB were sentenced in 2018, so yeah, a little bit confusing, man.
Police working on this operation would take note that a 31-year-old Newham resident known as Badrul Islam would have created a drug line in the town of Hereford, supposedly dealing around 200,000 pounds of Class A drugs yearly. And whilst Badrul Islam was the mastermind behind this massive county lines operation, he wouldn't directly deliver the drugs to Hereford. This in fact was Yanko, who delivered the drugs from Birmingham to Hereford, in which runners then took the drugs from Yanko in Hereford and began to sell them. In February 2018, however, Badrul's home was raided, with thousands of pounds in cash being seized as well as multiple drug phones. Yanko as well as 2 other defendants would be arrested, as they were the drug couriers within this case. At the end of the trial, Yanko was given 3 years on top of a prior 3 years, as he was caught with a firearm, although he was later released in 2021, releasing the track titled The Race in prison. Within this track, he mentioned that an op should have died, but he was lucky. Following this up, stating his op was kissing the floor whilst a gun was pointed to his head. Yanko also directly responded to the allegations that he was stabbed, stating, "I've never been chefed in my life. Please tell me whose name you're tarnishing." During this time, Whoosh from 7th began to make noise in the streets of
Yeah, Whoosh as well. He was cold, man. He was cold back then.
Newham. This mainly being due to his music, as he was a breath of new air and had some of the craziest flows. In March 2020, he previewed a track that directly disrespected multiple 6th and Southside gang members. Within the preview, he claimed Young Diz was both shot and stabbed, as well as saying, "You went to jail for 15 bills or 1,500 pounds, then questioning how dumb his rival was, before dissing Promise, who was killed years earlier.
Yeah, jumped on road, oh no, 3 up D-Sab. This got shot and stabbed, didn't touch no rule members and then try and rap. Yes, you went jail for 15 bills, 15 bills, how dumb are you, man? Say promise that you never knew promise, you just broke a promise and so did gang.
Southside Newham gang members saw
That's a cold flow, man.
this, and a day later on the 13th of March 2020, they caught Whoosh. It's believed Whoosh was stabbed multiple times by the 6th members, originally being in critical condition before luckily surviving, with 6th members being quick to disrespect him. Young Diz took to Twitter stating, "Dissed me 3 days ago, then got touched. I'll always have the last."
That's crazy, man. Like, this what I mean. You would never see somebody post like this today, man. It's way too, like, fake, I guess.
Laugh, hashtag Whoosh, as well as "You can't hide forever, come on Ak, that's long." On Instagram, Diz posted saying, "Me and D-Sav just sipping our tea as Whoosh is in critical condition. All that talk has a price," even going on to post this video mocking Whoosh.
I like Whooshy boy and listen, get well soon, my nigga. You're out the shop, you know. You know you're good, you get me?
Crazy, man.
Now, it's believed that following this stabbing, Whoosh would move away from Newham and quit the UK drill music scene. Sadly, however, just under a month following this almost fatal stabbing, an innocent person who had no relation to any gang beef would fall victim to the ongoing war within Newham. On the 26th of April 2020, 24-year-old David Goma, who was an NHS worker, would be walking through Custom House and would be talking to his girlfriend on the phone. During this time, members from a Northside Newham gang would be looking for rivals, noticing David less than an hour before the fatal attack on him, with the defendants even being seen chasing David on CCTV. Although he outran the attackers, it's believed a car then approached him. The defendant inside the car then asked where he was from. With David beginning to run once again, the attackers exited the car and chased down
This is crazy, man.
24-year-old David Goma. He was sadly stabbed around 9 times, however, being pronounced dead moments later. The attackers then fleeing moments later. Following the arrests of the
I at least know it's somebody involved, man. I don't get it, man. It's so dumb. So pointless.
defendants, comic-style drawings depicting the murder would be recovered and used in court. It's even believed that one of the defendants drew the names of his dead rivals on the walls of the court, writing the words, Northside Newham. 2 of the men were...
Yeah, some of these guys are just psychopaths, man. Not gonna lie.
Given 27 years for the murder, whilst a separate man was given 26 years. The final man then receiving 21 years. Rest in peace, David. Something that makes this situation even worse is the fact that only 2 days after the attack on David Goma, his dad's funeral was set to take place, as he sadly died from COVID-19 in the weeks earlier. Rest in peace, both David and his dad.
R.I.P. man.
Now, around this time, CB's young CB, would begin to take music seriously, releasing the track titled Tax 3 in May 2020, this featuring Fizzler, as well as DSQ in July 2020, this being followed by a feature on a Plugged In November 2020.
Young CB had some bangers as well, man.
Although sadly, under a month later, in December 2020, young CB was both shot in the head and stabbed by members thought to have been from the rival
I don't remember that, to be honest.
Southside Newham gangs. Originally, young CB was in critical condition before going on to luckily recover, narrowly dodging death. Unfortunately, however, only days following this, a 15-year-old allegedly associated with a North Woolwich gang based in Southside Newham would be stabbed to death. On the 11th of December,
like everybody that's been killed is so young as well, man. Crazy.
2020, 15-year-old K-John Lubin, known as K-Miz, and a group of friends would get into a confrontation with a rival group, believed to be from the 7th and CGE gang. This confrontation was allegedly over a stolen e-scooter. During this fight, K-Miz was stabbed and was pronounced dead less than an hour later. It's rumored that Vanko from CGE was arrested for this murder, but
R.I.P. man.
Was later released as he was only charged with violent disorder, eventually only receiving 2 years for the clash. Rest in peace, K-John Lubin, or K-Miz. Now, following this tragic murder, 2021 would begin with the violence in Newham continuing, as well as rappers on both sides of the gang rivalry beginning to make music. Double M went on to release the track titled Gunsmoke, in which he openly stated that he laughed upon hearing the news that Star 9 had been killed, also going on to state that Whoosh was stabbed for disrespecting his rivals too much on his preview. Sadly, however, Double M himself would go on to be stabbed to death. Only mere months after releasing this song, S13 from CGE also released a song titled Fish au Filet in March 2021, where he basically sent for everyone, rapping that an op got killed in a shop and was unable to finish his tea, this being a direct diss to Grinna, who was killed in a shop in 2017. S13 then ended the song with an ominous lyric which read, "How many ops got put in my spliff, I'm billing." On the 7th of
R.I.P. to him as well, by the way.
March 2021, 18-year-old Double M, who was walking with a group of his friends in Abbey Wood, southeast London. Double M.
Back in 2022, I lost 2 very important people.
From his friend group, making his way to another friends in Abbey Wood, southeast London. Double M decided to split off from his friend group, making his way to another group of people. A very short conversation between Double M and another man then ensued, although this conversation turned deadly when the man retrieved a knife and stabbed Double M in the chest. Now, Double M would actually walk away from this toward his friends, with him seemingly not noticing that he had been stabbed, although upon returning to his friends, he was rushed to hospital by them, sadly being pronounced dead in hospital hours later.
Yeah, like I said, R.I.P. man.
Police went on to launch a murder investigation following the stabbing and arrested 26-year-old Mohammed Shihabi, who is believed to have no involvement in the Northside and Southside Newham gang war. Mohammed was found not guilty of murder, but instead manslaughter, eventually being sentenced to 9 years for the murder, with an extra 2 years.
So why did he stab him then? That seems random, man.
Years to run concurrent, as he was further charged with possession of a bladed article. Rest in peace, Double M. By this point, the war in Newham would be raging, with it being common to see stabbings, shootings, and murders occurring within the news. Although only a month following the death of Double M, a civilian would be killed by a member of a Northside Newham gang.
Other civilian, man.
On the 23rd of April 2021, 14-year-old Fares Matu would be stabbed in the head by an alleged OM member whilst protecting his friend. Fares was then hit with metal poles and was kicked, before the attackers then stole his scooter and fled the scene. Sadly, Fares Matu was pronounced dead moments later, with another
ridiculous, man. R.I.P.
murder investigation being launched. In the end, 2 teens aged 16 were arrested and charged for the murder, with one of the youths being sentenced to 13 years, whilst the other was sentenced to 11 years. Rest in peace, Fares Matu. Now, it's believed Fares was not involved with any gangs, and was innocent, sadly getting caught up in the endless war that has been playing out within the streets of Newham, which was only going to get worse, as just under 3 days later, Grinna's younger brother, Y Grinna, would be killed. On the 26th of April 2021, only 3 days after the death of Fairs Matu, Grinna's younger brother, Junior Ja, or Young Grinna, would be walking down Coolfin Road within Custom House Newham. He was noticed by TT from CGE, as well as S13 from CGE, who were both sitting in a car. Young Grinna was shot in the chest by a passenger within the car, before TT then exited the vehicle and stabbed Y Grinna twice in the chest, killing him, with the attackers then fleeing and setting the car on fire, only streets away from the crime scene. A murder investigation was then launched, with both CGE members going on the run in the weeks after Junior's murder. S13 continued to rap during this time, pretty much snitching on himself within every song. He released a cold room freestyle at the end of 2021, in which he said that a girl said he was smiling too much, in which he responded stating that she didn't know the real reason as to why he was grinning, this being a subtle diss to both Grinna and Young Grinna, who had been killed. He then said that he got stabbed years ago, but it didn't matter as Northside Newham had killed 3 people since, following this up with him saying that he got bail and breached it for the Y Grinna murder, stating that he shot toward a rival, which he was also later found guilty of doing. For backstory on this bar, in September 2022, S13 would shoot toward Young Bane from Southside Newham almost.
Young Bane as well. Yeah, I forgot he's involved in this as well.
Hitting him. What made this crazy was the fact that S13 did this in broad daylight without a mask. He then fled in a car, but was pursued by police helicopters, even going on to drive on the opposite way of the road, but was later arrested and given 3.5 years for the shooting. In the end, however,
3.5? That sounds like nothing in comparison to some of these other ones.
S13 and TT would both be sentenced to over 30 years for the murder of Junior Ja, or Young Grinna. Rest in peace, Junior Ja.
R.I.P. man. I can't imagine their mom, man, losing 2 of her sons to the same shit. That's insane, man.
Following this murder, in September 2021, S13 from CGE would post on Snapchat stating that Yanko was fresh home from prison, with some users taking to the UK drill Reddit and stating that he needed to feature on Plugged In with Fumes, and it looked as if Yanko would take note of this, as only 2 weeks after being released from prison, he dropped his Plugged In freestyle. Within this track, he said that if you are not involved but your brother is, then you can hold smoke for your family. This possibly
That's some silly type of reasoning. Crazy.
Being a reference to Young Grinna, the younger brother of Grinna. He then stated that you would have thought that they made marijuana legal in the United Kingdom, as so many of Yanko's opposition were dead. Yanko wouldn't stop at his Plugged In, and later released a cold room freestyle in which he rapped that he lighted a spliff, and was speaking to Grinna and Ace, who were both Southside Newham members that had died. This cold room freestyle is often regarded as one of the best cold room freestyles, currently sitting on around 11 million views. In 2022, CB from 7th would make a massive return to the UK drill scene from prison following his 2019 sentence. He released an album titled A Driller's Perspective 2, this being a follow-up from his A Driller's Perspective album in 2019. This second album had 17 songs, including one titled Still Active, featuring Suspect from AGB,
That album was cold, I'm not gonna lie, man.
Day from AGB, YB, and C1 from 7th. CB also released the music video to his track titled Rap or Road, which currently sits on 1.4 million views. And despite all of these new eyes looking in on the war, the violence was only going to continue in 2023. On the 5th of May 2023, 16-year-old Rennell Charles, or Renz, would exit his school in Walthamstow, walking toward a bus stop with a group of friends. Whilst walking, 17-year-old Maiglor Yambuya, or MKs, who was believed to be from the CGE gang, exited a taxi only meters away from Rennell Charles. MKs then walked toward Rennell whilst having a machete in his waistband. Both Rennell and MKs got into a confrontation, leading to Rennell beginning to run away from the situation. However, he was chased down by MKs and was stabbed multiple times, sadly dying only moments later. MKs was later arrested for the murder, and in 2024 he was jailed for 19 years, even going on to laugh as he was sentenced. Rest in
that's crazy. R.I.P. man.
Peace, Renz. Now, around this time, youngers on each side of the war began to get active, even creating their own gangs. Example being AFG from Plashet Park, E6 and E7. This gang being closely affiliated with CGE, 15th and another new gang. That being MTM, which is believed to stand for Money's the Motive and Mission to Murder. This gang is based around multiple estates in and out of Newham. Now, C1 from 7th began to get active within the UK drill scene, releasing tracks like Mortal Kombat, Good Riddance, and Frozen. And on the rival side of the feud, AB dropped his Plugged In freestyle, in which he openly stated that he has been watching CB's mum through her.
That bar is nuts as well, man. I just can't imagine being in that life, man. It's insane. It feels like, yeah, obviously it kind of is as well, but it feels like a different world, man. Just, yeah, I can't imagine. Like, you can't chill anywhere. Like, you can always get hit up, or your family can get hit up. That would be the worst part for me. Like, always wondering if your mom can do stuff or your like siblings, and yeah, nah, man, insane.
Window and his
That's why I kind of think sometimes you kind of have to be a psychopath to even be in that life, man. But yeah, I don't know, man.
wondering when to kill her. CB actually heard this and clapped back in his plugged-in freestyle, rapping that AB made a career from being shot in the head, this being a situation often mentioned, also stating that he must have a death wish, mentioning his mum, as CB was ready to kill for her. Now, if you remember, I said that C1 was making noise within the streets. Well, he would actually begin to have a rivalry with other Northside Newham gang members in 2024, with it being believed that he was kicked out of the 7th gang and was knocked out by a CGE member, although as of most recently, C1 actually returned to the music scene, releasing 2 tracks a week ago. As of most recently, in summer 2024, a group of CGE gang members and rival ACG members would get into a knife fight at Southend, resulting in one of the ACG members being stabbed, although luckily, he went on to recover in the days after. Young members from MTM began to claim this, posting hospital emojis as well as helicopter emojis, possibly suggesting that the victim was airlifted following the stabbing. Now, as of most recently, young gang members from these Newham gangs have begun to release music, example being Ryda from ACG, who has begun to make serious noise within the streets, as well as Ramsey and Twista from the MTM gang,
haven't heard those.
Releasing a Plug Talk freestyle just a week ago, with this track seemingly gaining a good amount of attention and positive feedback. Now, no other incidents have really occurred within the streets, but I hope that all of the members involved in this beef can focus on music instead of the roads, as realistically this road life only ever leads to jail or death and never anything positive. These people may appear to be your friends now, but when
yeah, man, this video, like I said, it was a long ass video. I don't feel like I commented too much. But most of this stuff I already knew as well, so it wasn't really a lot of new stuff. Some things obviously I might have forgot and stuff like that, but yeah, man, like he said as well, stay off the streets, man. Just find something else to do, man. And if it's all about making money, I'm sure you can find some other way to make money. And as well, a lot of this beefing stuff, the motive isn't money, man. It's just killing people and being the toughest guy and stuff like that. But yeah, man. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more videos like this. Also, let me know in the comments which videos you want me to check out, if there's a specific one. And yeah, man, stay off the roads. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And I'm out. Peace.